Betelgeuse is acting strange again. Guys, wrong Betelgeuse. Thank you. Yeah, that one. And when Betelgeuse acts up, astronomers pay attention. Because this isn't just any star. This is one of the brightest, biggest and closest red supergiants in the night sky. A ticking cosmic time bomb sitting just 650 light years away, perched on Orion's shoulder like it's been watching us for millennia. Now it's pulsing, brightening, belching out massive clouds of gas, and nobody knows exactly why. See, Betelgeuse is a star in its death throes, the final chapter of a stellar life that has been burning for over 10 million years. And when stars like this die, they don't go quietly. They explode. We are talking full-blown supernova, a cosmic event so powerful it could briefly outshine every other star in the galaxy. And here is the kicker. If it happens in our lifetime, we'll be able to see it during the day with the naked eye. In 2019, Betelgeuse dimmed so dramatically it looked like it was winking out. People panicked. Scientists scrambled. Some even thought the explosion was about to happen. It didn't. But what we learned from that moment shook up everything we thought we knew about stellar death. And now it's happening again. But this time, it's not just dimming. It's flaring, it's glowing, and it's behaving like a star that's inching closer to the end. So the question is, are we really about to witness a supernova in our lifetime? Or is Betelgeuse playing cosmic charades with every telescope on Earth? Stick around, because this story isn't just about one dying star. It's about what happens when the universe reminds us of how small and lucky we really are. Let's talk about the 2019 dimming, something that sent astronomers, astrophysicists, and even casual skywatchers into a frenzy. Betelgeuse started to vanish. Okay, not literally, but over the course of just few weeks, its brightness dropped by more than 60%. That is huge. For context, this is a star that's usually the 10th brightest in the entire night sky. You can spot it easily without a telescope. It's that reddish-orange dot on Orion's shoulder. But during this so-called great dimming, it faded so much that some people couldn't see it at all. For a while, nobody had a clue what was going on. Was this the beginning of the supernova? Was the star collapsing? Had we finally caught a red supergiant in its death spiral? The internet, of course, lost its mind. You had amateur astronomers setting up backyard scopes in the snow, Reddit threads full of apocalyptic theories, and even a few YouTube channels, yes, some of them respectable, speculating that we were days away from a blinding celestial explosion. The truth? It turned out to be a bit more complicated. NASA and the European Southern Observatory quickly turned some of their most powerful instruments toward Betelgeuse. Observatories like ALMA in Chile and the Hubble Space Telescope got to work. And after months of analysis, they pieced together the most likely scenario. Betelgeuse had burped. Not in the literal sense, of course, but the star ejected a massive amount of gas from its surface, probably during a convection event, kind of like a stellar hiccup. That gas cooled, condensed, and turned into a thick cloud of dust that temporarily blocked some of Betelgeuse's light from reaching us. So it looked like it was dimming from Earth, but the star itself was still doing its thing. Crisis averted. Sort of. Because here is the catch. This kind of behavior isn't exactly normal. Red supergiants do have unstable outer layers, sure, but throwing off that much mass that quickly? That was unusual. Even the scientists who solved the mystery admitted this was something new. And when a star the size of Betelgeuse starts behaving in ways we've never seen before, it raises a much bigger question. Was that just a one-off stellar sneeze? Or was it the beginning of the end? Alright, so Betelgeuse dimmed, flared, and got everyone's telescopes in a twist. But let's take a step back. Why does this one star matter so much? Well, first off, size. Betelgeuse is enormous. If you swapped it with our Sun, its outer edge would stretch past the orbit of Jupiter. That's how big we are talking. It's a red supergiant, one of the largest types of stars in the known universe. And stars like this don't live long. Unlike smaller stars which can burn for billions of years, Betelgeuse is already in its final stage of life. And we know how that story ends. But size isn't the only reason it's so closely watched. Betelgeuse is close, only about 650 light years away. In cosmic terms, that's practically next door, and that's what makes it special. If Betelgeuse goes supernova, it won't just be some distant flash in a telescope. It will be a one-in-a-civilization event, something that lights up our sky like nothing else in recorded history. When it explodes, it could shine as bright as a full moon even during the day. For weeks, maybe even months. No telescope required. You would look up and see a dying star's final breath with your own eyes. That alone would be awe-inspiring. But there is more to it than just a spectacle. Betelgeuse is also a cosmic laboratory. It's teaching us how stars die, how they lose mass, and how they prepare for one final catastrophic bang. The 2019 dimming wasn't just a fluke. It was a chance to watch stellar physics in real time. And for astronomers, that's like watching a volcano that's been dormant for centuries starting to smoke. Plus, it sits in the constellation Orion, one of the most recognizable star patterns in the sky. Cultures all over the world have stared at Betelgeuse for thousands of years, weaving into the mythology, navigation, and calendars. If that star suddenly disappears, that's not just an astronomical event, that's a moment in human history. And here is another kicker. This could happen without warning. When Betelgeuse finally blows, we might get a few hours heads up. Maybe a burst of neutrinos if our detectors are lucky. But from our perspective, it will just happen. It's rare, it's unpredictable, and it's happening right in our celestial backyard. That's why Betelgeuse matters. And just when everyone thought Betelgeuse had gone back to normal, it threw us another curveball. In early 2023, astronomers noticed something odd. Betelgeuse was brightening again. Not just a little, it became even brighter than its normal baseline. In fact, it reached its highest recorded luminosity in over 50 years. That's not typical red supergiant behavior. Not even close. So naturally, the telescopes came out again. New observations from the Hubble Space Telescope and ground-based observatories like the Very Large Telescope in Chile confirmed that Betelgeuse is undergoing some intense surface activity. We are talking massive pulsations where the star expands and contracts like it's breathing. These aren't mild puffs of stellar air. These are violent shifts that can eject vast clouds of gas and dust into space. Think of it like this. The star's outer layers are unstable, kind of like boiling water. And sometimes a big enough bubble bursts at the surface, blasting out material. That's what might have happened in 2023, and it could be happening again now, only this time it might get worse. Recent infrared data also suggests Betelgeuse is surrounded by even more dust than before. That means it's still shedding mass, still spitting out clouds of material, and still keeping astronomers guessing about what phase it's in. Some scientists believe we are seeing Betelgeuse transition into its final burning stages. In massive stars like this, the core eventually stops fusing helium and starts burning heavier elements: carbon, neon, oxygen, and finally, iron. And once iron builds up in the core, that's game over. Iron fusion doesn't produce energy, it consumes it. The core collapses, the outer layers rebound, and boom, supernova. Now, to be clear, there is no proof that Betelgeuse is there yet, but the fact that it's getting brighter, more volatile, and more unpredictable, that's definitely a sign that something's happening deep inside. And here is where it gets a little funny. Some scientists refer to Betelgeuse as the drama queen of the cosmos. Why? Because every time we start to relax, it pulls another stunt that sends the entire astronomical community into panic mode. But drama or not, this star isn't done. Not by a long shot. The question is it putting on a show, or is it saying goodbye? And now here is the million-dollar question. Is Betelgeuse about to explode? If you're hoping for a simple yes or no, well, welcome to astronomy, where soon can mean anything from tomorrow to 100,000 years from now. But let's break this down. Stars like Betelgeuse end their lives in a spectacular event called the core collapse supernova. It's one of the most violent things in the universe. The process starts when the star runs out of its fuel. First hydrogen, then helium, then heavier and heavier elements all the way up to iron. And that's where the trouble starts. Iron doesn't fuse. It just sits there piling up in the core like dead weight. Eventually the core can't support itself. Gravity takes over and the whole thing collapses in a fraction of a second. The outer layers slam inward, then rebound outward in a massive explosion that sends stellar material out into space at tens of thousands of kilometers per second. That's the theory. So, is Betelgeuse close? Some recent models say yes. The brightness fluctuations, the surface activity, the strange mass ejections, all of it could point to the final stages of fusion playing out deep inside the star. Some scientists have proposed it's already burned through carbon and neon and may be fusing oxygen now, one of the final steps before collapse. But even with all this, predicting a supernova is like trying to guess when popcorn's going to pop. You can hear the sizzle, you can see the tension building, but it still surprises you when it finally goes. Now, if Betelgeuse does explode, what would we see? First, neutrinos. These ghostly particles would arrive at Earth hours before the light does. We have detectors underground, like supergiant in Japan, that are built specifically to catch them. Then the sky would light up. Betelgeuse would become as bright as the full moon. You would be able to see it during the day without a telescope for weeks, possibly even months. And here is the best part, it won't hurt us. Even though it's huge and powerful, Betelgeuse is far enough away that the radiation would be harmless. The worst we would get is a better view of the Orion constellation minus one shoulder. Still, the idea of watching a nearby supernova in real time, that is rare. The last naked eye supernova we had was in 1604. Before that, 1054. So, could it happen soon? Yes, but in space terms, soon is a slippery word. If Betelgeuse is truly in its final act, there are signs, very specific ones that astronomers are monitoring closely. Because here is the thing, while we still can't predict a supernova, we might be able to catch one just before it happens. And that's why every major observatory on Earth, and few in space, are keeping a very close eye on Orion's shoulder. First up, neutrinos. These subatomic particles are the ultimate warning system. When a star's core collapses, it doesn't start with light. It starts with a burst of neutrinos, and not just a few, we are talking trillions of them flying through space at nearly the speed of light. They reach Earth hours before the explosion becomes visible. Now, they are almost impossible to detect, unless you've got a giant underground tank filled with ultra-pure water like supergiant in Japan or Ice Cube in Antarctica. If Betelgeuse sneezes, these detectors might be the first to know. Then there is the light curve. Astronomers are constantly tracking Betelgeuse's brightness, looking for sharp increases or strange fluctuations that might hint at the final core collapse process. Sudden spikes, drops, or patterns in luminosity are all clues. In 2019, it dimmed dramatically. In 2023, it got unexpectedly bright. If it starts doing both in quick successions, that's a red flag, no pun intended. They are also using spectroscopy to examine the star's surface and atmosphere. This tells them what elements are present, how hot the outer layers are, and whether the star is shedding mass. For example, seeing increased helium or heavier elements in the outer atmosphere could suggest fusion layers are reaching the surface, something that only happens near the end. Oh, and let's not forget infrared telescopes like the James Webb Space Telescope. These are perfect for peering through the dust Betelgeuse is constantly throwing off. If the star's mass loss increases, or if it ejects a massive shell of material like it did in 2019, we will be able to see it in exquisite detail. Basically, astronomers are playing cosmic bingo with every tool they have. Neutrinos, spectroscopy, light curves, and thermal imaging. And even then, it's still guesswork, because stars don't send calendar invites for their explosions. Still, the next time Betelgeuse does something weird, and you can bet it will, there is an army of telescopes ready to catch it in the act. So, will Betelgeuse go supernova in our lifetime? Maybe. Or maybe not. That's the frustrating beauty of astronomy. We can measure, model, and observe, but when it comes to stars, we are still mostly spectators. And Betelgeuse is the lead actor in the cosmic play with an unpredictable script. What makes this story so compelling isn't just the potential explosion, it's what it represents. Betelgeuse is a living reminder that the universe is dynamic, violent, and very much alive. We like to think of the night sky as calm and eternal, but in reality it's full of chaos and change. Stars are born, they burn, and they die. Some go out with the kind of bang that reshapes galaxies. And here we are, a small species on a small planet lucky enough to be watching a star at the edge of its life. If Betelgeuse does explode in our lifetime, it will be more than just a headline. It will be a generational moment, something people will remember, photograph, and talk about for decades. Like a solar eclipse, only rarer, brighter, and louder. It will dominate the sky, shadowing constellations, outshining planets, and turning every stargazer into a witness of cosmic death. But even if it doesn't happen tomorrow, or this year, or this century, it will happen. That's the one thing every astronomer agrees on. This star is on borrowed time. So next time you're outside on a clear night, look up at Orion. Find a reddish-orange glow on his shoulder. That's Betelgeuse. And know that you are looking at a ticking time bomb, one whose final act could light up our universe. Until then, we wait. And we watch. Because when Betelgeuse finally decides it's time, we won't just see a supernova. We will witness history. Thank you for watching. Keep looking up.